Hi, this is Prasant Radhakrishnan. I'm a saxophonist specializing in Indian classical music, combining it with other styles as well. And today we're talking about 5 ways that musicians are especially equipped for enlightenment and self-realization. This is essentially a permanent feeling of peace, happiness, and really an understanding of one's own nature, free of suffering and the dissolving of what's often referred to as the ego mind. And this is just one way to describe it. It's really something to simply experience, and music is one of the easiest ways to do it, so I've been talking about quite a bit, and I will continue to do so. But sometimes people need specifics, and really, how can you say music is really that important? Well, today we've got a number of ways and a number of reasons why music is just as important as, say, yoga or meditation, which has become very popular today and has been highlighted quite a bit. But music, though everyone enjoys music and understands it's a really deep study and a profound thing to undertake in one's life, there isn't as much talk or sharing about how music can directly relate to being free of suffering and realizing our own nature. It's not only a temporary entertainment. It's so much deeper than that. And it can not only give you special experiences, but it can actually give you, in a very direct way, realization, which is simply recognizing who you really are, free of identifications and confusions. So let's just jump right into it. Thank you for being with me today. The first reason that musicians are so well equipped for self-realization, and those of you out there who might be practicing music should really consider yourself either a seeker on the path or someone who's already immersed oneself in this realization as soon as possible without any delay. The first reason is simply that by being a music practitioner, when you play music, you have developed the ability to be a witness. Okay, that means that you're not necessarily stuck in your body, but you're actually witnessing what you're doing while you're active. And so this is really an aspect of living life in freedom, when you're just living your life, but there's an aspect of you that's aware and present and unaffected by any of the external circumstances. So when you're practicing music, you're actually able to be aware of what you're doing. You're not stuck in that thing, but you're actually aware of it. So this is an extremely important quality to cultivate, and it's not that easy to cultivate it. But by practicing music, it becomes a natural necessity. In order to perform music well, you have to be able to have an aspect of you that's aware while you're very much engaged. Like you're creating sound, your body is completely engaged, everything's engaged, but you have to remain aware as a witness and observing or being aware. If you are not a musician, or you'd like to get more understanding of this, simply start by noticing that you're aware right now. And you'll feel that just the feeling of being aware is very natural, but usually we're aware of something. So to get comfortable with this, you can start by being aware of something. For example, you're looking at this video, you're watching me talk, or maybe you're looking at your laptop screen. You might notice any object in your surroundings. It could be your own body. You could take a look at your hand. And you look at your hand and you notice that you're aware of your hand. And totally become aware of only your hand and just observing and being aware of it. And then next, now simply notice that you're aware So you're aware of being aware of this hand. So you're no longer aware of the hand per se. You're now aware that you're aware. So it's just aware of being aware. And that's a very simple way that you can start to apply this and be aware as you're doing your day-to-day activities, whether it's taking care of your family, washing dishes, doing your homework, driving your car, whatever it is that you're doing, you can have this deeper aspect of awareness. So another reason, the second reason why musicians are so well equipped for enlightenment is the preliminaries. Actually, some of these are the preliminary things that you kind of need to be ready to go before you can actually let go into being. Now, technically, you don't need any preliminaries, but this just tends to be the case. And that's the ability to concentrate the mind, concentrate the awareness on one single thing without being distracted. And in today's world, that's even more applicable because there's so many distractions. So when you're practicing music, you do need to focus on that activity. Now, there's multiple things involved. This was interesting about it. You're usually moving your fingers, you're aware of the rhythm, you're aware of the pitch, the shruti, you're aware of many, many, many things, but you're focused on this one activity at one time and nothing else. And so many of the early teachings of the great sages talk about the importance of having your intention, your mind, thought, everything to be going in the same direction and focused on one thing at a time. And a lot of the meditation practices are really just trying to get people to do one thing at a time so your mind doesn't wander off. Musicians have already been doing this many times for years or decades. So you already have that taken care of. Number 3, musicians and music lovers are always engaged in absorption with that music through enjoyment. So one of the aspects of recognizing your natural awareness and peace is that there's an element of enjoyment there, because anything that arises is considered part of that. So through the dissolving of separation, the feeling of separation between you and other objects or other people or environments, because of that dissolution, there arises a feeling of enjoyment in pretty much most activities, and in the non-activity as well. Now, the quality of this enjoyment is there in everyone's life, but it's only there in certain things that they really, really like. And a lot of times it's not there, things that they don't like. Now, when you practice music, there's a discipline involved to create that. So it's not simply like eating a piece of candy. You're going deeper into your own awareness to create this music and have it come out of you. But the nature of that is enjoyment and happiness. So by engaging with that happiness through creation, it becomes much easier for someone to then continue to enjoy that in outer life and appreciate what's outside and within as well. So continuously engaging with going into the music through the feeling of enjoyment. Because if we didn't enjoy music, no one would listen to it. No one would really bother with even learning an instrument or listening to any music. So the very nature of music is enjoyment. Living self-realization, enjoyment is maybe not the way you think of the word enjoyment, but the union between everything, which results in a dissolution of separation, is the source of enjoyment, if that makes sense. So that enjoyment expands and opens up further as you dissolve the limited mind that occasionally pops up and tries to ruin the party. Number 4, this is a very big one. Musicians often experience complete loss of a limited self while deeply and intensely engaged in playing music. So it could be when you're practicing in a really wonderful practice session, or it could be a performance with some fellow musicians who you really resonate with, or very intensely in the music and you completely lose yourself in the music, okay? So that is an extremely powerful experience that we could describe as a loss of the ego, or at least a temporary effacing of the ego mind. And the ego mind is the single cause for all of the difficulty and suffering in every human being. Largely it's mental suffering. I'm not talking about the physical things that may happen to people on occasion, but just the experience, pretty much all the mind. So by having that mind dissolve into, either it can just disappear, like poof, it's gone, or it can dissolve into our own awareness during that activity of playing music. The experience of that is profound and is something that stays with you. Have you ever had an experience of something where it was so beautiful or so impactful, it just stayed with you through your life? Everyone has had experiences like that, even though that experience is not here at the moment. You're not experiencing whatever that is that was so impactful, but it's still with you. And that's how these experiences are. It's essentially a micro-enlightenment experience. That means you recognize yourself to be something other than this thinking mind and the body. And there's something greater or something deeper, something more still. It can show itself in many ways. It could be energetic, it could be spacious, it could be silent, it could be blissful, it could be just simply peace and simplicity. Nothing to think about, nothing to worry about. It can show itself in many, many ways. But this can happen easily while playing music. And if you're already a music practitioner, if you feel like you've had these kind of experiences, you can actually go deeper into that experience by surrendering into the music more. It's not only a one-off thing. It can actually be your natural state. That's a glimpse into your natural state. Now, the fifth one is, again, more of the preliminary, because for your self-realization or enlightenment to really dawn and establish itself as a living realization, not just an experience, it requires your body and mind to also be somewhat ready for it. And what that means is, it's just like you prepare, when the old way they wash the clothes, they keep beating it on the on the thing because the clothes too dry. It's not going to take the soap or anything unless it's wet and it has the, all of that stuff has to come out. When you're baking bread, you have to just keep pounding it and kneading it, pounding it, kneading it. Otherwise, it won't create that delicious bread or baked good that you're making. So this body, though, because its physical appearance and the mind with all of the thoughts it's been having all these years, millions of years, or however you want to look at it, it needs to be kind of prepared to dissolve back into its own nature. It helps along the way, so you can have a very stable and pleasant realization to some degree. And music gives you humility, discipline, and rigor. So these are really important qualities. Humility is important for the temporary, limited mind. So if your ego mind is there, you need that ego mind to be at least somewhat humbled down. And everyone's had humbling experiences. When you play music and you practice music, you've always come up against many things that humble your ego mind. Whether that the music is very challenging and you realize you're not ready for it, you have to practice so much more. Or perhaps you've gotten to a certain level in your music, you thought you were pretty good, and then here comes along somebody who's a million times better than you. Or more commonly, your teachers or your gurus, your masters, or you listen to the great musicians and you say, wow, I can never reach that how beautifully that they're playing the music. So those things naturally humble the mind and make it more receptive. So when you're humble, you're also more receptive to and open to learning, and you realize that I don't know everything. So that's really important. But at the same time, you don't want to become so down that you don't have the self propulsion to to go forward with what you need to work on. So the rigor and the discipline for practicing music, that means you practice regularly to improve that music that you're working on. And again, this ties in beautifully to the other thing I just mentioned, which is the enjoyment. What's beautiful about this practice is that it's propelled, it's pulled by the happiness and the enjoyment of music that it gives. So even though there's rigor and discipline, there's an innate reward naturally just by the fact that the music is there. So even though you might be working on a concept that you're only going to get later, as you're practicing that concept, there's an enjoyment in that. And that really does reflect the nature of the self, the infinite self, is that the most ordinary things that you're doing, which may not have a result, which may not give you a reward, are incredibly valuable, infinitely valuable, really. The bonus, the sixth one that I want to share with you, which is something that's possibly the most important, is the ability to overcome fear within us and go into a state either closer or completely into our natural state to play and do something which is filled with peace, happiness, joy, and beauty. So you're not overcoming fear so you can go and attack someone. You're overcoming fear to manifest naturally beauty that benefits yourself and others. So this is one aspect of the self that's very, very wonderful. And I made another video earlier that you can see here, which is about getting over anxiety and fear and how you can do it, how it relates to music and performing music and in regular life. And when you play music long enough, you do develop this ability to transcend fear in general and anxiety in general. So that means the limited ego is effaced to a degree. And all you have to do is just let it go efface a little bit more and just drop into your heart and being. So I hope you found this useful. If you are a musician or a music practitioner, or maybe you're a spiritual practitioner who's been meditating for many years, but you just don't feel like the needle's moving anymore, understand that practicing music can give you that catalyst to go deeper into your own nature. And musicians who might not think that they're spiritual people or might not think that they're interested in realization, or you're interested in it, but you think that you don't have the capability, this is here to tell you that you very much are ready and you very much have the self. Everyone is the self. The same thing that is in all is in you and is in me. And simply understanding that by not following your mind, but resting in your own being and living your life naturally. Again, practicing music gives you many of those important qualities that you can look at as a way of realizing your own nature, the self. Have a wonderful week. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Feel free to like and share this video if you found it useful, and of course subscribe to the channel.